Morning everybody, and a warm welcome to Wild Earth this morning, and I'm very excited to be back. My name's Tara and I'm looking forward to this game drive. I hope you are too. There's been a lot that's been happening, I've been told. There's been cats galore, which as some of you know, are some of my favourite animals, the leopards and the lions. And there's a couple of stories that I think everybody would like to follow up on this morning, and we'll certainly see if we can. But first I'd just like to have a quick check around the quarantine area and see if there's been any tracks and any movements, because I did hear some guinea fowl calling first thing this morning, and I think the baboons are also around, so I'd like to have a quick check-in on them before we head off towards Treehouse Dam and see if there's any evidence of what happened last night. So a little bit to follow up on, and after the Treehouse Dam I'm hoping to go towards Buffalo's Hook and see if the lions are still around, and apparently they did have quite a huge carcass there. Buffalo, I believe, and it would be nice to see if they're still around. So quite a lot to try and follow up on, and who knows what we'll bump into along the way. But I think let's see if we can make a turn around towards Gowrie Dam, or at least down towards where the baboons are. And it looked like they were starting to wake up. But we'll just check along here, see if there's any tracks, any movements before we do head down. But just to introduce the rest of the crew for you this morning, I've got Daniel and Karen with me this morning, and Craig back in final control. So if you would like to ask any questions, please do. It's always great to hear from you. And if you would like to ask anything, then fire away. Send those questions through to questions@wildearthsafari.tv. But let's jump aboard and see what we can go and find this morning in this beautiful area in South Africa in Djuma Game Reserve. I can hear the baboons are actually calling, so I think they are waking up this morning. So we're already about halfway along. There's one or two impala just towards the side of the quarantine area. But there's usually a lot of animal movement around here, so it's always worth just checking the tracks. And I know a few people get a little bit confused as to why we look at tracks sometimes, and it just helps us to try and point us in the right direction at least, or we may even be lucky. Sometimes if you've got tracks that cross the road or they head somewhere, and if you know that animal you may know the routes, and it may help you to actually locate that animal. But otherwise it's a good indication of what's been moving around at night. And some of those nocturnal animals we don't often see, it's always nice to know that they are around. And I must admit, it's great to be back in the bush. I've been in the city for about a week, and that's long enough for me, I think. It's funny, when you do live in the bush, you do need to have a bit of a break sometimes. See civilization, kind of remind yourself sometimes what it is like to live in a city. Some fresh hyena tracks heading down that side. That's also part of the fun, and that you don't know what you're going to see on drive. Anything is possible. So there's been a lot of hyena movement. I didn't hear them last night though. Walking around, and I believe they have changed the den site. They've moved to Zoe's Road. It's funny, that termite man does get a lot of action from lots of hyena, but warthog we've seen there. Karula also herself has been there. much else at the moment. Quick check-in on the baboons, see if they've woken up yet. They might be waiting for the sun to rise there. I've got a few impala there. Quick stop. Listen out for any birds calling. Good morning to you, Jamie. Is it Jamie or Janie? Janie. Janie. Good morning to you, Janie. Welcome to you this morning. Hope you're well. Wanting to know how many miles it is between Pete's Pond and Gowrie Dam. And I must admit, I am not entirely sure. Maybe someone can actually check for us, but it's not here in, well, close to Kruger or the Sabi Sands, which is where Djuma Game Reserve is. I think it's just over the Botswanan border. Maybe I'll be corrected on that one. Yeah, Mashatu, that was it, I forget the name. They're all still sleeping up there. If we go around the other side, oops, sorry, there's a couple of tails dangling there. Oh, yeah, there's one just opposite us. I'm still seeing 5 of them. There we go. If I just pull back a little bit, we might see them a little bit better. Let's see who it is that's... If we do have any new viewers, you might think it's very strange. We're right here in the game reserve. And we've got some human habitation here. And the human habitation is because, obviously, when you have a game reserve, there are people that help to run the game reserve. Good morning, Elby. Elby's just turning around looking at us. I'm sure you can see she's in estrus there. You can see her anus is swollen up. I always think it looks quite painful, but that's actually a sign that she's ready to mate. Now, we did see her mating a little while ago, so I think she hasn't fallen pregnant from that. She's still very much swollen like that. And it looks like it could be Shirley that's actually grooming her. Now these baboons are clever, and you've got to hand it to them. They know where the safest places are, and with there being a fence around one of these areas, and this is actually the owner of Djuma, they pick the best. But there is a safety aspect with the fence. So leopards especially are less likely to hunt them at night. because of this fence. Acts as a deterrent. And you may have noticed the mast that was also there. And that's where we actually send the signal to from the vehicle, if anybody's ever wanting to know. And it could be there's a little bit of warmth there from the human habitation from the house, and it could just be slightly warmer in the trees above the roof of the house. And that could be why they actually do sleep there overnight, and if they are in the area, which I'm really glad to see they're back, that could be why. I'm sure I saw a little tail of one of the youngsters. Shirley has the newest baby. I think I just about saw the head there. Let's see who it is. Could be Mrs. Psycho, actually. Oh, there we go. There, that's little Evelyn. So it's Mrs. Psycho and Evelyn. I thought it was a bit odd. From what I've seen, these two ladies seem to have a better relationship. Just going back to Janie's question, actually, just try and put it into perspective. We on the southeastern side of South Africa, whereas Mashatu, where Pete's Pond is, just over the Botswanan borders, further north from where we are. And I think to drive to the Botswanan border from here, I think the quickest route is probably about 6 hours. I'm sure someone will be able to correct me. It's probably about six, maybe 8 hours drive. I think someone might have come back about 300 k's as the crow flies, I think, to the Botswanan border. Or was that to Mashatu itself? So it's quite a distance, Janie. And I believe Pete's Pond was actually set up to help rehabilitate the area. Unfortunately, a lot of animals were killed. They were from poachers, quite a lot. And the area, I think, sounded like it was overgrazed or overutilised. So the pond is actually set up to try and encourage animals back again, and it's thriving. It's amazing how much wildlife actually visits that pond. I believe there's a bit of a debate as to whether they're going to be introducing a crocodile to the pond or not. But I do believe there was one. I think he was called Fatty, and there was one that used to reside there, and it left a short while ago. Now you can see Mrs. Psycho is standing up. You can see the normal size of the anus there compared to that of Elby. Now they've all got names because they were researched. There's little Evelyn. They were having a lot of research done on them. We had a man called Graham Cook who would be part of the troop. Called it the Gowrie Gang, and gave each of them names, as is normal when you're researching an animal. It's easier to identify each individual instead of going, well, that's A, B, C. It's a little bit nicer to give them names. And unfortunately, Mrs. Psycho apparently didn't take to him too quickly, so he was a little bit wary of her, and apparently she used to give him this stare. And he wasn't too sure what she was going to do the next. Notice both females grooming each other, very important, and strengthening that friendship that they've got there. I thought I may have seen Huey, but I don't want to get hopes up. Huey was missing actually when I went on leave, and I hadn't seen Huey for a good couple of weeks, 3 weeks or so. I did see quite a small body up there, but I'm still only counting 5 adults now. So we might have to see once they wake up again. They're going to be waiting for that sun to climb higher in the sky. But let's see if we can make a turn actually and have a look, because I think the sun is just poking through now. I'm going to turn around, I think. Catch another glimpse of the mast as we drive. And I think a few people, as I said earlier, are a little bit concerned about what happened yesterday. Now, if anyone missed drives yesterday, our resident female leopard, Karula, has got 2 cubs who are about 7.5 months old now. I was shocked to see how big they'd got over 2 weeks of not seeing them. Quite amazing, they're growing so rapidly now. And yesterday Mark caught up with them at Treehouse Dam. I think Karula had made a kill, left the cubs. And what's quite interesting, and I think this is possibly one of the reasons why Karula is so successful, is because she left the cubs with the kill, and it sounds like she's immediately gone off to try and make another kill so that the cubs are continually feeding. Because she doesn't know where her next meal's coming from. We've got the guinea fowl here. These are possibly the guinea fowl I heard earlier. And now they're on the ground. The sun's just shining through there. Guinea fowl are quite skittish birds. They don't tend to be on the ground if they don't feel safe, especially from terrestrial predators.
Okay, copy. Thank you. I might make my way to that way, but they still coming from east to the north.
Here too, but we are going to head towards Treehouse Dam and see where everything took place. So as I say, the cubs were left, Karula had gone, and yesterday morning Mark caught up with them, and Mafuffinyan was also there, and I think Mafuffinyan chased the little female cub, but it looks like he may have been in a fight. We're not too sure who with, possibly the other territorial male leopard that's in the area. He's one of the big males. And Jambili Ordan, the other big male that may overlap that area of his territory. So they may have had a clash. Could have been something completely different. He has got an injured leg. I'm not too sure which leg it was. Apparently he was a little bit swollen, which is normal throughout their life. They will get injuries. They're actually very robust animals. They will generally heal pretty well and pretty quickly. hippos are still around. Has the baby hippo been around much? Ah, baby hippo was on the camera yesterday. We've also got our own camera. There's some hippos there. Apparently it is now working, fully functional. Oh, sure. Someone was saying there was a leopard stalking the baby hippo last night. Someone saw it on the camera. If anybody does see anything, if you're watching both channels, this is under the Juma Waterhole channel. Can't speak this morning. But if you are watching both channels and you happen to see something, then definitely let us know, because it's almost as if we've got two sets of eyes. We've got us on the Gunda, and then we've got the other set of eyes here at the dam. And if there's anything exciting that happens, then definitely let us know. We can let everybody else know and maybe make our way back here. Apparently one of the leopards was stalking the baby hippo this morning. Or last night. Not the usual prey for leopards, especially the adults would be too large. But if the baby hippo strays away from the adult on land, then leopards are highly opportunistic and they may try it. And we've seen Mishu, one of Karula's sons who's now over 2.5 years old. We've seen him also try his luck with the baby hippo before. But luckily Mum saw and chased him off. Okay, so we're gonna carry on heading down. I just thought maybe someone's walking around here, or maybe baby hippo will make an appearance. I think we'll have to wait again for the sun just to climb a little bit higher for them to come out. But when Mark went back to Treehouse Dam yesterday afternoon, Mafuffinyan hadn't moved very far. But Karula made an appearance. She came fairly close to him, and I think to begin with, I don't think she saw him. And then she called the cubs, and the little male responded. Well, I think we just need to give the lens a quick wipe. Bottom left, I think. Top left. Sorry. Top left. I'm going to clean your eyes for you. Don't be alarmed. And as the time wore on, she actually came and sat on the dam wall, and the Mafuffinyan, I think at that stage she spotted him. No pun intended. And she did actually, she looked like she snarled at him at one stage, but she didn't make an attempt to go and chase him off, and he actually put his head down, so he wasn't wanting to engage her. Which was very interesting. So I think, judging by then the fact that he hadn't moved very far, I don't think he harmed the little cub, but I do understand there's quite a number of people who are concerned, so we are making our way down there. That's why I wanted to check for tracks on that side in case there was any tracks of their movements and they've indicated where they've gone. Also checking Treehouse, Twin Dam, sorry, for the same reason. See if there's any indication of where she might have gone to. Now what's quite interesting is, again, for any new viewers, because we've gotten to know these animals, and these animals tend to be resident, they tend to stay in one area when they hold a territory. You do get some nomadic animals, especially the youngsters, and we think Mishu, we haven't seen him for quite a while now, and it's possible that he's gone further afield, maybe looking for a territory of his own, avoiding the big territorial males. We have gotten to know these animals and gotten to know their characters. And just like humans, you have some leopards that are bold and they'll risk things, and then you'll get some leopards that are very conservative and they will not go too far out of their way to do things. So you get this whole extreme and a lot of personalities in between. And we also have a fairly good idea of who's related to who. Now mothers, it's fairly easy to know who's related to who, but fathers it's a little bit more difficult. But we believe that Mfufenyan is Karula's father, so he would be grandfather to the cubs. So that makes it quite interesting. And we were actually wondering if there was going to be an interaction between him and the cubs and how he would react, because we don't know at the end of the day. They could react very differently. But generally an unrelated male who isn't the father will possibly go for the cubs more likely than not. Now you've got that other mix in. He's the grandfather. Is it possible that he recognises the cubs? Maybe he'll have a similar scent to him if Karula and Mfufenyan are related. It's believed she may have mated with him with the first set of cubs, but it's also possible that it was her mate of choice, Shambili Ordan. So you've got all these dynamics which are really quite interesting. I think it looks like everyone's stayed in bed this morning. We're waiting for that sun to rise a little bit. Across through here. Swinging by Chelapan there. Fairly quiet this morning. Hyena tracks. Trying to look like leopard tracks. Ooh, grey duiker. See it. Now the bush is dying back a little bit, it's getting easier to see these antelope. As you can see, they don't stick around too long. Oh, there's two of them. A grey duiker or duiker, depending on you say it Afrikaans or the English way. Duiker is the English, duiker is the Afrikaans. And it actually is Afrikaans. To dive. Dive through the bush. There it is again. You see it. Just in the bush there. You might actually think that you can't see it. There's the two actually. There's one right out in the open in the sun. There's another one just to the right of the screen now. Yeah. Another one just to the right of the screen. Hi Alan, good to hear from you this morning. I hope you're well. Interesting question from you. Wanting to know, would a leopard or any other animal use water or mud to clean the wounds? And I haven't actually seen it myself. I do know animals, especially like elephants, will eat certain plants. I do know other animals will also eat like clay and things like that to settle stomachs. So your cat or dog at home might eat a bit of grass just to settle their stomach. But to actually physically put water or mud onto a wound, I haven't seen it. What you tend to find is that they lick it a lot, and the saliva obviously contains bacteria and some, it does have a slight healing property to it, and you will find animals lick the wounds, and that does help to keep them clean and may actually help to facilitate the healing, to keep them clean. So that's really the only thing that I've seen. Sound like anyone's made their way down towards Treehouse now this morning, so I'm not entirely sure if they're going to be there. It's certainly worth having a look. So there's no tracks either side. Honestly, I think the little female, she's got quite a character about her, a little female leopard cub. And she seems to be quite bold in her attitude, and I think she's also got some of her mother's survival instinct. I think she's quite aware of what's safe and what's not, and I think she tends to look out pretty well for herself. And I think she pushes those boundaries sometimes when her mum's there, but certainly if you've seen them on their own, she's quite curious, but as I say, she does have an awareness. If you remember when the hyena came through just before I went on leave, there was a hyena that came through and they'd had a kill and it was in the tree. And the little female was already up in the tree and... Sorry, the little female was waiting. She actually was waiting to the last minute for the hyena to come through, but she was watching that hyena quite closely. And she could see that hyena wasn't really interested in her, but still she made her way up into the tree at the very last minute, just in case that hyena tried anything. And I think all she's done is just taken herself off and just protected herself. She possibly just didn't hear her mother's calls or didn't feel that it was safe enough to cross from where she was to her mother. Anything is possible. This is where all the action was taking place yesterday. Kuda was sitting on the wall. The little male joined her. And I think the Fufignon was actually sitting over the other side there. I'm not entirely sure where the kill was. Trying to keep a sharp eye out. Just in case they are still around here. And so I would expect a Kuda to move them on. Yeah, elephants pass through here. If Fufignon had an injury, he may have stuck around. He was over there, was he? But you don't know where the kill was, do you? No. Let's see if we're missing out for any elephants this time, because those tracks look fairly fresh. Rustling of trees. Breaking of branches. Well, we're looking. Good morning to you, Elizabeth. Welcome on board as well. Also good to hear from you this morning. On wanting to know what the largest and the smallest antelope are. Now, the largest antelope is the eland. Now, unfortunately, we don't see eland around here. There is a possibility they may pass through. So there is some in the Kruger, which we border onto. And they weigh in roughly around the same as a buffalo, which always amazes me. And the eland are so agile. They're able to jump from a stand. Some of the smaller antelope, maybe about 3 meters. Adults, maybe about 2 meters. But we don't need a run-up at all. I think we need to maybe just check out onto Gowrie Main and maybe do a loop before we head off. There's also some rhino tracks heading in here too. So you're looking about maybe 800 kilos for an eland, large male. Sometimes reaching a ton if you get some huge males, but roughly around 700, 800 kilos. And then you go to the other extreme, which is the Dacre, the blue Dacre, which is tiny. It's probably about this sort of size. Yeah, we don't get the Dacres, the blue Dacre here. The grey Dacre is the main one that we get here. And that's probably our smallest, maybe Steenbok. Steenbok's slightly smaller than the Dacre. So here in the Savi Sands and Djuma Game Reserve, the Steenbok is probably our smallest antelope. Looking probably, as I say, just a little bit smaller than the Dacre that we saw earlier. Probably about this sort of length. It stands maybe about that sort of high off the dashboard. And our largest antelope here that we see quite often is the kudu. The female kudu, she's standing on the ground, will probably stand her nose about here, and then obviously she's got her ears and everything here. So nose height would be about here. Give or take a few centimetres. Good morning to you, Al. There's another Dacre. Wow, we're doing well for Dacres this morning. I was just talking about them. You can see it through the bush there, just in case anybody missed it. So that is the largest of the Dacres, the grey Dacre. So I was actually wondering if Mafuffinjal might be around here. This is actually his favourite pan. I've seen him here a number of occasions. A little bit more relaxed than the other ones that we've seen. Judging by how relaxed it is, I don't think Mafuffinjal is around here. Oh well. have to try and see if we can find some monkeys for you, Anne. We do have monkeys here in the Saba Sands. The vervet monkeys. You may have just missed the baboons, which are also a monkey. One of the fundamental differences between a monkey and an ape is the tail. I think for a long time. Ooh. Some leopard tracks crossing over the way there. But there's already a lot of traffic over them. There's only 1 or 2 tracks. But let's just drive along a little bit because I just want to see if there's elephants around here. Chop and change. Probably crossed over in the early hours this morning. We're just going to go over the way, turn around and come back up Shabam Road, I think. But I know there's a little black macaque, Celeb's black macaque in Indonesia. It was often referred to as the black ape. Because for a long time it was thought it was quite a small ape. Oh, crossed over. Not too long ago either. The difference being there's not much in the way of tyre tracks over them, whereas on the leopard everything apart from the middle section had disappeared. That helps to give you a time indication crossing a major road like this. Well, that's a shame. The elephants. But you never know. You might have luck further to the east. But I think the more that there was research done on them, they actually found that these little black macaques had a very small tip to their, or tail tip. So they did in fact find they were monkeys. I think it's only one little vertebrae of the tail. They've got a little tuft that sticks up. If you look very carefully for it, it is there. Turn around again and head up Shabam Road. We have no joy and we'll pop across Gari Dam Wall and head off towards Buffelshoek Dam. Or even maybe we should try the northern side of the dam. Just coming back to the tracks I was saying earlier, sometimes you can be on a set of tracks and they may just be slightly older, but it's worth sort of seeing where they're going to, because it could be that you find the fresher tracks. But as with those elephant tracks, they looked fairly fresh on that side, so the possibility of the elephant being here is quite high. So that's why we sometimes change if we do find some fresh tracks, change what we're doing. Make a slight detour out of our way. There's also some rhino tracks coming in here. There was some coming in from that side, but there was also some crossing over again, coming down towards Treehouse Dam. So it could be there was a rhino in here and maybe he's making his way towards Treehouse Dam. Just want to have a quick check in here. nice and sheltered. I think this is where Peter saw the brown hyena once. I have found rhino here before and lions, so it's worth just checking, especially this little sandbank in front of us. And just be neatly tucked away. And good morning to you, Annette. Good to hear from you. Welcome on board the Gunda this morning. I'm wondering if Karula, excuse me, if Karula will actually leave, if she has made a kill. Will she leave with the male cub and leave the female behind? And I think it will depend on if she has made a kill. I'm not sure if she has. So it's quite interesting that she came back last night. And she seems to always be on the go. From what I've seen so far of her, as I say, she doesn't stick around too long. She makes the kill. She tends to go and bring the cubs. She maybe rests for a little while. Then she eats. And maybe the following day, obviously it'll depend on how much she eats and how much energy she has. But it looks like roughly a day after she's done all that, she heads off in search for the next meal. And of course it could take a matter of a couple of hours. It could take 3 or 4 days. It could take longer than that. But that's one thing that makes Karula so successful. She really has quite a good knack of, when she's hunting, she generally succeeds. Quite funny, I was talking to some of the other guides the other day and they were also saying they hear that Karula's hunting, generally they hear that she succeeds. And that's what really is quite a remarkable thing about her. Because cats are not usually known to be successful percentage-wise out of the amount of hunts that they try. Something very small, I think it's something like 20 or 30%. I'll have to go and check up on that. Maybe someone can do it back home if you're able to have a quick look. See if there's a site that might actually quote. I think you may have to look through some literature for it. I've not actually found it on the internet. If anybody's good at finding things out like that, someone can see. Hello. There's one set of tracks here. So somebody did walk down here. Excuse me. It does look like the cubs. Or at least one cub. Actually just out the way on this corner here. I thought it was actually walking over our tyre tracks, but not quite. So we cut through there. there's no more here, so it doesn't look like they've cut through there. No, there's a couple more here. Excuse me. It looked like there was possibly two sets. One looked fresher than the other. And a rhino crossed over here too. Maybe we need to make a loop around here then. I couldn't see Karula's tracks with them. So it could be they're still in here. Could well be, but let's keep going up here and make a turn around the dam. But I don't think that Karula would leave the area, take the little male towards a kill. She has made it, especially if the area is quite far away. I think she'd possibly stick around, and it could be that she wasn't making a big song and dance of it. She didn't want to alert Mafufenyan maybe to her presence, because she actually stopped calling for her when she saw Mafufenyan. So who knows, maybe she put two and two together and realised that she's probably hiding. But we have seen the cubs split off before. We've seen the little female after the storm. The female was with the mother and the little male was missing. And they found the little female with her the following day. And remember, Karula does leave the cubs to their own devices, so it's not as if they've never been on their own before either. And now they are honing their skills of climbing trees and getting out of the way of predators and potential threats. So they are able to hide themselves away if they have to. And even against other leopards, remember they're quite small still, they're probably about this sort of size now, so they can get into smaller trees, smaller branches, right on the tips of the trees, whereas the larger leopards are still going to be, they'll probably still also get onto small branches, but not as small as the babies. Ooh. Little bird feeding party here. There's some little blue waxbills, I think they just flew off though. If you can see, there's a little chegra in there, but I think he might be too far back now. There he goes. It looked like there was some little blue waxbills, chegras, drongos, all in a little bird party there. Sometimes they'll come back, so they have flown further on. Tracks that came from across Gary, Maine. And tracks may also help to piece together some of the information that might be missing. there's some more tracks here. The little cubs. Again, one set. You might actually be able to see these. What do you think? Will you be able to get these? Yeah, if we jump off. When you're looking at tracks, you need to have generally the sun. That's why I've not been showing you any of the tracks this morning, because we haven't really had the sun on them. But these are fairly deep, so we're going to give it a go, see if you can actually see the cubs' tracks. This is probably from last night. You see this at all? Kind of.
Yeah.
So you can just about see it's quite thick sand, so it's spreading out a lot. But you can just about see the pad here and the toes, and then here's the pad here and the toes. And so this is quite thick sand, but this might be able to show you fairly well. But we can maybe try.
This is for the cubs track.
Yeah, that's the cubs track, but because it's in thick sand, it just looks much bigger. So if I put my hand in there, and if I would be walking, and I would actually be moving the sand as I walk, my handprint actually looks much bigger than what it does if it's in thin sand here. So maybe you don't see. I think this is going to be a little bit too thin. So without the light really showing you, but you might just be able to see that one here. And there's the pad, and then the toes there. Just to give you an idea of what we're actually looking at.
So it's an adult and a cub. Yeah.
No, that one's the cub. This one's just the one cub. I think this is the female's tracks, where she moved away from the fifth and young last night. I think she possibly crossed over that way, and that's possibly the two sets of cub tracks that we saw on that side. I think.
Looks like she's on her own.
Yeah. But if you remember, I think Karula was on the wall there, so it could have been that the little female went over here and Karula may have cut through here at some stage. That's why I'm just trying to piece together all the information that we're picking up. And there may be tracks that I have missed, because obviously we can't have eyes everywhere, and I think that's why we missed those tracks on the corner, because they were on the opposite side to where I am. So it was worth coming down the road, but it has gone a little bit quiet here. We've done a loop around. So if they are right in the thick of the bush, I think they're going to be staying there. But it is difficult to say. I couldn't find exactly where those tracks went. It could have even been that Karula walked that side, and that she may have called and the little cubs met up somewhere in that block there. But we've given it a go. We'll see, maybe see if we can come back a little bit later if we have time. I think let's start heading over to the east. But I think we might just turn around and take this road up and across Philemon's cut line and just see if there's anything there that's come out. Because remember, Karula doesn't always use the roads. She's very good at using the roads, but she doesn't always use the roads, so you never know. She might have just cut through and gone somewhere else. Let's jump aboard again, see what else we can go and find. Okay. Well, we gave it a good shot. Just getting a little bit of radio break up there. I was hoping maybe we'd have some luck with that rhino coming out here. Wager those tracks that are coming up here excuse me, that came across Gowrie Main. It would be quite interesting if anyone who saw the leopard trying to hunt the baby hippo last night, if you could let us know what time that was. Say, I think it was definitely sometime last night, possibly the early hours of this morning, that leopard crossed, and I think it's possibly the same leopard maybe crossed over up Shabam Road and maybe went down towards Gowrie Dam trying to hunt that baby hippo. I'd wager it's the same. And maybe Karula heard or saw that leopard. Maybe kept the cubs here. Maybe. Just going off of what happened with those tracks. Could be that they didn't see each other at different times. As I say, those two sets did look fairly different. One looked fresher than the other. Could be they were just hiding in the grass there. That's where it's just stopping, just having a quick look all the time. You might just see a tail flicking. It might just move or jump. Anyone's come back with the percentage that cats are successful in the hunts. If anyone's been able to have a look for us. So I've yet to find it. So if anybody would like to look up for us, if anyone hasn't done it yet, if anyone can look up, see if we can find what percentage is given of how successful cats are when they hunt. I think dogs, I think it's somewhere around, the wild dog is one of the most successful predators. And I think it's somewhere between 60 and 80% of hunts actually end successfully. And cats, so I think it's around 30, 20, 30, 40 at a push, I think. a bit of break up there. Ah, this is also quite interesting. Got some more tracks here. It does look like the Cubs tracks. It looks like Karula walked up here. And I think these Cubs were running up and down again by the looks of it. So there's some tracks going in both directions. Ah, thanks Cheryl. Thanks a lot Cheryl, coming back with some information there. Works out about 33% of tries. These Cubs were running up and down so much. Are you able to get them just off the vehicle here? The sun is coming through. It definitely looks like Karula and the Cubs. Karula looks like she is going that way mostly. There's one or two tracks that turn around. So it looks like she did head up that way after all. But it's so difficult to see. Sorry? Are you looking at the little tracks? But it is difficult to see how many Cubs there are, because as I say, you can see them running up and down here. And this way, and that way. Here we go. So you might actually be able to see this a little bit better. And then we've got this one here. I say these ones are going in that direction, and then you've got these ones here going in this direction. And if you've seen us, and we have found the Cubs in Karula, and she's walking up the road, Karula will kind of walk, and then she'll stop and turn sometimes if the Cubs are darting off here, there and everywhere, so they don't just walk in a straight line. They're always doing things, so they're always scampering after her, or maybe running ahead and then turning around and running back. So that's what we're seeing here, and as I say, that's why it's quite difficult to see exactly how many Cubs tracks are here. So we'll go a little bit further up, and this is where tracks can come in very useful, because obviously everyone's quite concerned about that little female. So if we can try and actually see if there are just two sets of Cub tracks, then at least we'll know that they are with Karula. But we're going to keep heading down towards Gary Dam. That's the direction that they're heading in. So without seeing the animal, tracks can give you that bit of story that you're missing. to go. Awesome. Little Janet was out and about again last night. So I wonder where she does go. So it could have been that she was walking up here as we were driving around. They look just a little bit older than that. They do look maybe sometime also this morning. But the cubs shouldn't be going off by themselves. Where she leaves them, they'll probably wander around that area, but they won't walk off too far until they start getting a bit older. Okay. Still quite difficult to tell, but I think we do have both sets of tracks here. They were busy. Again, there is some car tracks over them. There's also hyena mixed in with them now as well. Still running up and down here. Thanks, Connie. Good morning to you. I wonder where those statistics came from, but apparently it sounds like cheetah and lion by themselves tend to be a little bit more successful. Apparently cheetah and lion around 40-50%. Leopards somewhere around 15%. Tigers 10%. Successful. And down there. Lost. There's a car over there looking. Okay. So again, just no real clear indication of those tracks of the cubs running up and down. At one stage it did look like there was two, but I do want to get a good confirmation from everybody. But there's nothing here. She walks off somewhere. Maybe it was her down at the dam. Let's have a quick look around the Bush Bryce side. Thanks for that, Connie. As I say, interesting to know where you got the statistics from, but thank you very much for coming back to us with that. So it just puts into perspective, and as I say, there's not really any cat that goes above 50%, or any species of cat. I think there's a cougar in there as well, I'm pretty sure. I think that one was about 30%, something like that. So I think, take them all together, I think the cats as a whole is probably about 30%, as we were saying earlier. And thanks, Ellen, also sending the information through about the leopards. Now we have seen the boys use this Bush Bryce site a lot. I think Karua does use it. No tracks here of her. Try down this side. But maybe she might have made a kill or something here. I say any tracks that are here probably going to be fresh, because remember we drove around here this morning. So if somebody has walked over our tracks, also gives quite a good indication. The hyena tracks that we saw this morning. Morning, Christine. Welcome on board this morning. And if we do have any other viewers who have not met me before, just wanting to know a little bit about where I come from and my background. You may have noticed from my accent, I'm not South African. I'm actually English. Oh, there's some tracks here. These are all hyena. Some zebra tracks. Yeah, Hendry, come in. morning. I just wanted to find out, did anyone make a turn around Buffelshoek Dam yet? The Ingala's still around there.
I was breaking up. Can you come again?
I just want to find out, has anyone made a turn around Buffelshoek Dam where the Ingala were? Are they still there?
I better to blame you. It was only me that was there. And I'm now trying. There's some contour here by the gate. I'm just trying to check around. But there's nothing.
Copy that. I've just had some encounters from Karula and the Mantlans, Flambring North on Philemon's cut line. So I'm having a look around here. Did you see anything around the dam this morning?
I can't talk to you now.
It's like struggling to hear us. But it sounds like the lions have left, unfortunately. So I think we should carry on our search around here. Maybe do a bit of a loop around, see what's down that side. Ooh, red-billed buffalo weavers here. Oh, nice. There's another bird with them. Which one are you on? Are you on the red-billed buffalo weavers? It's funny, I've actually seen these birds more now in the winter time than you do in the summertime, although you hear them more in the summertime. But they're the birds that are responsible for some of the big stick nests that you might see. And there's a drongo with them as well. And there is a couple of other birds with them. Again, quite a popular bird for having feeding parties with. You'll often find other birds mixing in with them, like I was trying to show you a bit earlier. And just like antelope will all come together for protection, you'll also get birds doing the same thing and feeding together and making use of more eyes to detect predators. And I think there's some helmeted shrikes just a bit beyond. Ooh, actually, if we can stay in here, there's some blue wax-bills on that tree. You might be able to see them, you might not. Might be just a little bit too far away. There we go. There's the little blue wax-bills. Tiny little birds. And that electric blue. Males are brighter blue than the females. And they've got this beautiful little tinkling call. I'm sorry, Christine, I'll come back to your question just now. And sometimes those little blue wax-bills will actually nest. We need to go. Did you hear that? I don't know if it came through on the microphone, but that sounded quite interesting. Not too sure who it was. Someone wasn't happy. Sounded like it was a bit further on from where the hippos are. reckon about here, hey? Maybe a little bit further
Yeah.
on. I was hoping that if we're on this side we might actually see something. Definitely sounded like someone was complaining. It was possibly a buffalo, but it just sounded very funny. Sounded a bit higher pitched than what I've heard the buffalo make. Okay, well maybe we should go on that side then. Sometimes if you hear noises you just have to react because you might just get to the right place at the right time. But thanks everybody for sending through the information about the leopard. And maybe, Craig, if there was a time. That's what a few people are coming back about. 9:30 last night. Okay, so it was quite early. So maybe or maybe not. Judging by the tracks from Karoo and the cubs, I wouldn't have thought it would be that early that she walked up the road. There's not much traffic over the top of them. So maybe that was the male leopard that crossed over Gowrie Dam and came up Shabam Road. Okay, well let's head on to the other side. And just in case anybody missed the update, it sounds like the lions have already crossed over onto Buffles Hook, so we're not going to head up there. I think we're going to continue our search around here and see if we get lucky. See if we can put people's minds at rest about the cubs. I say I'm pretty convinced there was 2 sets of tracks there from the cubs, but still difficult to say for sure. We'll maybe do a loop around here, a loop around Gowrie Cook Line. I'm just going to head up onto a river road and just see what's calling. Wow, all these people just listen out again. I just want to have a look straight down the dam. Maybe there's a reason that might come to the water's edge. And there's the baby hippo right at the back there. Just got underneath, I think just on the, yeah, just there and just to the right of the screen now. That's Mama Hippo. And Little Storm, I think everybody decided to call it. This baby hippo was born just after the big storm that we had about a month ago now. But Christine, as I say, I come from the UK. And my interest has always lied with the animals as far back as I can remember. There's the baby hippo. I think from when I was 5, I think one of my first exercise books I always wanted to see a kangaroo when I was 5. And I ended up working at my local wildlife park when I was 16, and that's where I really started to enjoy understanding the animal behaviour and what the animals are trying to tell us. And from there I went on and did zoology at university to understand a little bit more the science behind it. But I've always had the call of the wild. I've always wanted to come out to the wild and see the animals and see the difference between the captive animals and the wild animals as well. But the wild animals have always had something for me. And ever since I can remember, I always watched the documentaries and things like that. So I decided to come out to South Africa and become a guide and see where that got me. And luckily, I enjoyed it. So I ended up staying. And I was a guide for 3.5 years, 4 years, before I actually came to Wild Earth. And believe me, every day I'm grateful to be able to share the joys of Africa with everybody. And some days you get days like this where you're quiet and you're trying to piece together information. And as I say, with everybody being a little bit concerned about that female cub, I just wanted to try and maybe put everyone's minds at rest. And then some days you can just drive around and bump into everything. And that is the beauty of what we do here. And being live, you don't know what's going to happen. We don't dictate to you what's going to happen. We don't tell you the story that we want to tell you. The bush tells us its story. And it unravels as and when it wants it to. Looks like this pod has actually got a couple of hippos, baby hippos too. They're not as small as the one at the back there. I think we might have. That's possibly Bob. It'd be about the right age. He's just over a year old now. Hippo born last year. But I'm not hearing any more commotion at the back there. So maybe let's continue that side and see if there is anything that we can see. It's certainly worth stopping and having a look at the hippos. That's also one of the things that's nice about me and Mark. Mark's got a lot of the bush experience, and every day I'm still learning. And I think even Mark still learns. I mean, there's you can't possibly know everything about the bush and everything about everything. And even with everybody watching back home, everybody knows something different. I think the fact that we can all come together and learn from each other, and I always appreciate people sending information through, sending in questions, and if we don't know the answer, asking everybody back home, because there might be somebody watching that does know the answer. Every day there's something new that you learn, whether it's just a little something or a big something. For me, as I say, my interest does lie with animal behaviour and trying to understand animal behaviour, and that comes from just watching and observing, and that's why I'll probably spend a lot of time looking at maybe the tracks and watching the animals, and sometimes you'll find that we stay with the animals while they're sleeping, because at some stage, what's up, Gunda? At some stage, especially the cats, they should wake up and move around, and you start to learn things that maybe haven't made it to documentaries. Little pieces of information, little pieces of behaviour that maybe didn't follow the storyline in that documentary, so it was kept out or wasn't explained. Whereas here, if we watch, then we might just see something. There's a lot of questions that come through sometimes saying, what will they do? Or where will they go? How will they react? And a lot of the time we can't say for sure. Sometimes it's because that behaviour is never seen, or it's seen very rarely, so we can only really guess at what might happen from what we know of the animal. And obviously they are their own person, so we can't say for sure, because every animal has its own brain, every animal reacts differently, and that's what makes it so interesting. And even coming through the interpretation, you may get somebody looking at something and seeing something completely different. Depending on where the interest lies. Another big interest of mine is the birds. I enjoy looking at the birds and the stars. And you'll find with Mark on his drives he enjoys a lot of the small things as well. He has this wonderful eye for seeing small things. Tracks down here. I just want to check down towards the rims and just see if there is any movement around here. It looks like there were some elephants through here, but these branches are old. Even see some monkeys down here. They do like this area next to the lodge. There's a Nyala. Beautiful Nyala bull. If he could speak, I wonder what he could tell us. Sure. Okay, I think we need to go a little bit further on. Sounds like it's just through here, didn't it? Squeeze through here. Think small, everybody. Let's see if we can make it through here. And good morning, is it Dr. K? Good morning to you. Wondering what you saw on the other side of the dam. We are in a game reserve, in Djuma Game Reserve, and the game reserve has lodges where people can actually come and stay. Djuma is the closest lodge to where our camp is. Actually, our camp is just at the back here. We're actually in the drainage line at the back of camp. I'm not too sure how far we're going to be able to go through here. It does get quite thick through here. And quite steep as well. Oh, a tree in the way, that's not good. I don't think it sounds too far from where we are now. It sounds fairly static. if it sounds like an elephant. Or maybe even a buffalo. I'd like to find out what it is. I'm able to. This is that little piece. It's very thin on top there. I thought we might be able to snoop it there. How are you doing it with that? So what you're seeing is the lodge, Dreamer Lodge. Okay, I think we are going to have to go up and around. Just hope whatever it is on this side of the drainage line. Seeing movement there? Oh, there we go. Aha, there we go. So it is the elephants. Okay. I just want to see. As I say, I don't want to be part of whatever this is. I think it could be two bulls who possibly are sparring. So the rate they were coming down that hill, I don't want to get in the way of that one. Okay, I'm just going to move a bit further around. Funnily enough, I think I heard them this morning, first thing. And you see he's actually chasing. What's wrong, little one? Are you being chased, or is this for us? He's not happy, this little one here. That was him trumpeting just then. Oh, he has. He's got a damaged leg, and that's possibly causing him problems, and that's possibly why he's calling. Yeah, it looks very swollen. Now, I know this is going to be very distressing for some people. In fact, probably most of us. It's never nice to see an animal that's injured. I think when he was coming down the hill, possibly he's putting weight on it, and that's possibly why he's shouting. And say, it didn't sound like just a normal call, it did sound like a cry. That's why I wasn't too sure if it was a buffalo or an elephant just calling out. Or maybe being harassed by something. I'm trying to have a look at it. Unfortunately, we're not able to interfere. Animals do get injured, as we saw with the leopard yesterday. Okay, well, he's going to go down to the dam. Let's see if we can get down there. Unfortunately, it is nature, it is the way of life. Now, if this elephant has a problem and he's able to deal with it, survives, and he actually, it's a pretty strong elephant, and if he survives and he's able to go on and reproduce, then he's going to be able to sire some very strong offspring. But if he is not able to survive. If he's not able to cope with it, it could be that his genes aren't good enough to cope with things like that, and he's not able to go on and reproduce and pass on those poor genes. The only time that we do interfere, we have to go all the way around. The only time we are going to be able to interfere is if it's human inflicted. I can't see anything on there as such. It could be that he fell, could be something happened. Maybe if he was fighting. He looks a little bit young though. At the rate that one came behind him, I thought maybe he's fighting with him, but once he stopped, he seemed pretty relaxed. I can tell you now, it's never easy to see it. Nyala's also wondering what on earth that sound was, I think. Can you see them? I thought I saw a great body up ahead. Can you see them? That way. Hippos are out of the water as well. Maybe that's why the hippos are out. The sun's warming everything up, everyone's starting to move around a bit. That bull looks a little bit young, so I'm just a bit confused as to what is actually going on, why they're actually on their own. So that bull looks like he should really be part of a breeding herd. The older bull looks like he's old enough to be on his own. I'm trying to see if we can get a view of the hippos here. The hippos being out of water. Something you don't see every day. Those elephants are still going. So I'll see if actually just by staying still, maybe they'll stop somewhere, maybe come down to drink. Let's see, look at this. The sun comes out, starts warming everything up. And this is probably the first time I've ever seen hippos fairly relaxed on land. They get a little bit nervous when they come out. They don't feel protected anymore. And quite often they'll actually run straight into the water again. there's any vehicles around. I don't want to put pressure on those elephants if they are continuing to move. We were quite far behind at one stage, but if they haven't come down for the time being, I thought they were just moving to the water. See the oxpeckers even on the hippos' backs. Usually associate them more with the rhino and with the giraffes, the buffalo. Even hippos sometimes have ticks, and quite often will have battle scars. Stations. I had a brief visual of Tu and Love at Gowrie Dam. Looks like they're still fambering in a southerly direction.
I was looking for you that I got Ngala here on Oakland Road.
Copy that. Are they static?
Yeah, static Lala bus on the place.
Copy that. Thank you. Do you mind if we come and join you in a bit?
You can join, yeah, but if I leave, I will let you know. Or maybe if I won't find you on the road, you just keep on driving on this road towards the halfway between Fire Bridge and Metro.
Copy. Thanks a lot. Look at this. I've never seen hippos so relaxed like this on land. African jacana just walking around the back of the hippo. Getting irritated by the oxpeckers there. Oh, with their huge teeth you may think that they go around eating meat, but they may do that in extreme circumstances. There has been occasions where hippos have been seen eating carcasses when there's not much food available, but they don't really have the right digestive system for it. It's not their main food. They do eat. As you can see, the grass, and the grass is actually looking a bit like hay at the moment. And they'll actually use the lips to chop the grass. You can see even the big male on the left is swinging his head, and that'll also help to loosen the grass. And you can see actually, this is quite nice to show you, males tend to be much bulkier than the females. So on the left side of the screen you've got the male, and then on the right side you've got the female, and it's thought that females tend to have a lot more pink around the faces, and with this male it's actually quite a nice distinction. You can see he doesn't have that much pink on him, but it's not always the case, it's not a strict rule. And news from one of the other guides that the lions are now sleeping on the road just to the northwest of where we are. So I think we'll definitely start making our way that side. But as I say, this is actually a very special sighting. And I think the elephants have moved off. So I think we are going to leave the elephants because I don't want to put pressure on that little one. Now the reason why you'll see them out this time of day and you won't other times of the year is because the sun is not as harsh this time of year and it's still fairly cool, so their bodies can cope with it, and even their skin, which is very susceptible to sunburn, they need to protect that, and even dehydration, so they do need to protect themselves, and that's why you'll find them spending most of the day in the water. When it's cool like this, they make use of having grass nearby. Hi Annette. And a difficult question there, how old is the big one compared to the little ones? It's difficult to say with hippos because obviously they do, as they get older, just like everything else, the growth does slow down. And sort of more so with hippo than some of the other animals, their breeding, when they actually mature and they're able to breed, is more dictated by the size of the animal rather than the age of the animal. So it could be this male on the left is still a fairly young male, and he doesn't look like he's got many battle scars, it doesn't look like he's been in many fights. So I think, judging by that, I think he's a fairly young one, but it is difficult to say. But you do find a lot of the old territorial bulls tend to have a lot of the battle scars. You can see there's one or two scratches on his body, but nothing too major at the moment. Maybe the canines and the incisors, those long teeth, might also give you an indication if they've worn down. And Humgo, one of the big males in the area, would have had his teeth worn down, possibly from fighting and things like that, which is what they use them for. So that might help to give an indication of how old. A hippo can mature anything from 4 right through to maybe about 13. Just depends on how fast they grow. You can see those huge canines there. I think that little one is probably about a year old. Maybe about just under a year old. The one in the screen now. Hi Lizzie, and welcome on board to you as well this morning. Wanting to know a hippo's ruminants. Now, for a long time it was thought that they only had 3 chambers of the stomach, rather than the ruminants that have got the 4. But it looks like they have found that they are a 4-chambered stomach animal, but they don't ruminate. So the older one just trying to push the younger one out of the way. And opening the mouths is a threatening display. And obviously, this age they're going to be practicing what the parents are teaching them, and they'll see the adult hippos opening the mouths and showing off the teeth. As I say, they're not ruminants, they don't regurgitate the food and chew it. But they do have a very slow metabolism, so it takes them a long time to digest what they're eating. So in actual fact, the hippos don't eat as much as what you may think they should for an animal that size. They eat about 1/3 of what they should eat for that sort of size. It's usually around 30-40 kilos of grass a day, obviously depending on the size of the animal. So you're talking about maybe an average size hippo of about 1.5, 1.8 tons. And I think these two will probably still be supplementing their diet with milk. Not drinking as much as what they will do when they're very small, but they can still supplement with the milk. Looks like Mama Hippo with Storm's possibly going to come out as well. Actually, just going to pull forward just a little bit so she does. We might be able to see her a little bit better. Hopefully we won't disturb these guys. They seem to be pretty relaxed with us. Yep, still feeding. Take it slowly so we don't disturb them. Hi, Rosie. I think that small hippo's Bob. I think it possibly could be. Looks about the right size. But it's so difficult to say for sure. Because you remember, Bob's mum did have a lot of pink around her face. I wonder if that could be little Bob's mum. But there's Mama Hippo with little Storm. As I say, we're going to just see if we can have another quick look at little Storm, because it was quite far away on the opposite side of the bank earlier. And it does look like those elephants have moved off. Bless you. Yeah, there's a little one. And the rest of the hippos are still out. I think she's possibly going to wait for us to leave before she feels it's safe enough to come out. So you may or may not be able to see them on the waterhole camera. So I think we're getting towards the end of drive, and I would like to try and catch up with those lions for you. They're still sleeping. So I think let's leave the hippos to it. But certainly a wonderful, wonderful sighting. So the first time I've ever seen hippos be so relaxed on land like that. If you want to continue watching. Oh, there's a little Storm. Have a quick look. You see, it's tiny compared to the other hippos we've just been watching. So probably about 3 weeks, a month old. It'll probably be starting eating a little bit of grass, but it'll be eating or drinking a lot of milk at this stage. Okay, we do have a little bit of a drive. Hi, Joe. Good morning, Joe. wondering if hippos have toes. And hippos have 4 toes. And that's why they were originally thought to be related or very closely related to the ruminants, the antelope, the giraffe, and even the pigs. But they've actually found they're more closely related to the whale now, which is quite interesting. The DNA. I was hoping maybe those elephants would have come down here. Sadly not, and as I say, I didn't want to put pressure on them. I thought they were just moving towards the water, but when they still won't stop it. And it kind of became a little bit clear that they didn't want us really there. It's quite interesting they came down the hill at the rate of knots that they did. Say it could be that elephant has just got a swollen part of his leg. Couldn't quite see it. It did look like it was dragging it a little bit, but it could have been that it was just a little bit too painful to put weight on it. It could be that it will heal. Maybe it's broken, but again, I've seen elephants they have had a fracture or a break and they have been able to cope with it. But I certainly will let the authorities of the park know so that they can maybe just keep an eye on it. And as I say, this is the difficult part of it. Is seeing these animals, and you want to help. You don't want to see an animal in pain. But as I say, you do always have to keep in the back of your mind. This is nature. You don't want to interfere for good or for bad. Don't want to step in because the knock-on effects can be pretty huge, and if you step in for every animal that you see, there could be an animal that's 10 times worse that you're not seeing and it actually is still able to cope. So you know, it's a very, very difficult one, a very fine line. And as I say, it doesn't get easy. But you do always have to keep reminding yourself, okay, this is why we do what we do. This is, you know, possibly an opportunity for another animal to survive. Especially if you think about an impala. If you've got an impala with the same problem, that impala may fall prey to a lion or a leopard or something like that. So it may be that lion or leopard decides to hunt that one and doesn't go for another one that night or maybe the following day. But it could be that if that animal is strong enough, then it can still escape the jaws of a predator and survive. I watched this amazing clip of a young leopard trying to hunt a male impala. Now the leopard's actually got it around the throat, and the male impala is probably about twice the size of this young leopard. And it's actually got, and you actually think that the leopard's going to win, and this impala is jumping around and dragging this leopard, and eventually the leopard actually gives in. The leopard releases its grip and the antelope runs off. And as we were talking about earlier, the percentages, that's one of the reasons why the cats are not as successful as maybe the dogs. Now lions that are hunting together are probably more successful than lion hunting by itself. And that is one of the reasons why you get some of the animals actually cooperating to try and pull down larger prey, and also increase the chances that hunt will go successfully. As I say, injuries and disease are all part of the bigger picture, all part of the whole workings of the bush. But as humans, I say it's a very difficult, very difficult one to accept. Oh, there's a little squirrel just next to the road, just washing itself. Hi, Carrie. It's gone now. It was just sitting literally just on a rock and it just wasn't paying us any attention whatsoever until I stopped. But good morning to you, Carrie. Welcome on board. Wanting to know, do hippos give birth on land or in the water? And they can do both. They can give birth in the water, and if they do, it's generally a shallow pool. And I think that's what makes Garrow Dam so popular with the mothers. I think there's that little bit where we were, and it's fairly shallow there. Quite a nice nursery pool. Let's see if Henry's still with the lions. Henry, come in. With the Ngala on Orcas Road. Follow up on Karula and the cubs this afternoon and see if we can find any more tracks of them. Maybe even Karula and the cubs themselves. I wonder if she's got them in that little block. Otherwise, she may have crossed the road and gone into the drainage line. Sure which lions these are. I have heard that the Salalas have been in town. Now that's a new pride for me. I've never met them before. And unfortunately, I think they've had a big problem with the Majingi lions. I think they have actually killed some of them. It's the pride that has a female with no tail. She's called Bibi. She's the oldest living member of the Salalas now, and 4 young females, so I wonder if it might be them. I'm not entirely sure, he didn't actually say how many there were. He said they were somewhere on this road, sleeping. Be around. They shouldn't move too far, it just depends on if something happens, maybe an elephant herd walks through that can push lions off into the bush, even a herd of buffalo. Ginny! Good morning to you, Ginny. Oh, okay, we've got some tracks of the vehicles here, so it's not too far away. Wondering if hippos are affected by atmospheric pressure. Aha, here is BB. And there's another female just here, so this is at Saladas. You see them nicely there. Hmm? Sorry? So this is my first meeting with Atsaladas. Always amazing if they've had good interaction with the vehicles, how relaxed they actually can be with the vehicles around. Now there's two of us that just arrived, so I'm just going to give them a little bit of time just to make sure that they are relaxed, and I'll see if we can move and get a better view of them. Might be able to find it. He's got the same idea as me. Ginny, I'll just quickly finish off the question about the hippos with the atmospheric pressure. And it doesn't, I wouldn't have thought it would have affected them too much. As I say, what's quite funny about the storm was we didn't really see much change in the behaviour of the animals. It's almost as if it caught everyone by surprise. It's very odd. But animals are susceptible and they will detect that change in pressure. We do see it a lot with many of the different animals. So I think they would have detected it to a certain degree, but as I say, this one kind of did sneak up on us. But they may have detected it and we just didn't see those little changes in behaviour. Maybe we didn't detect that at all. So it could be either or. But I don't think it had much to do with the timing of the birth. But what you do find is a lot of the births do seem to peak around the rainy season. And there's still a lot of food available, but with hippos, they can breathe throughout the season. The same with the elephants as well. You may get the peak this time of year, but they can also breathe throughout the season. And with fairly long gestation periods, hippos, if I remember rightly, is about 7 months, I think it is. And with the elephants it's 22 months, which is extremely different to your carnivores like the lions. Lions, you're looking about 100 days, so just over 3 months. Dogs are probably about 2 months. You can see BB there. I was saying earlier she doesn't have a tail, so a very distinctive female. in the Tsalala Pride here. I can see there's actually two just sitting behind her. Now with the other vehicle moving to where it is, she's put her head up, she's kind of keeping an eye on things, so I'm just a bit reluctant to move at the moment. Just want to see how she goes. She puts her head down again. But there's at least 3 females here. And just before I went on leave, there was 10 lionesses, or 9 lionesses and 1 youngster, feeding off a carcass together. Oh, there we go. Where are you going, lady? And they were actually sharing. Oh, there's actually 3 sitting. Excuse me, sitting together. Okay, I'm going to move a little bit. And it turned out that it was the Nkahuma females eating with the Tsalalas, which is really quite amazing, and apparently it's not the first time they've been seen together. I'm just going to see if I can just pull in alongside here. Hello, beautiful lady. See, now it's starting to just get a little bit warm. We're going to start seeking shade, and I think that's where Bibi went. And good morning again to you, Cheryl. Cheryl wanting to know, is Bibi born without a tail, or did she just lose it? Now, I'm not entirely sure what her full story is. I think she probably lost it a long time ago. But it is difficult to know. Maybe if one of the older viewers who might be watching might be able to fill us in on that detail. And maybe if Karen or Colleen might be watching, they might be able to help us as well. So if anyone can tell us if they know how she lost her tail, or she was born without it. It is possible. Could be a genetic mutation, but I think she was more likely born with it and she lost it. And you can see a little bit more difficult to distinguish between the females. And even male lions to a certain degree, but these they have a little bit more fur. You can kind of start to recognize the manes. But they don't have spots like leopards or stripes like tigers that will help you. So you start to look at other things like the teeth and the ears and the spot pattern above the whisker line, and even just the number of females that you see or in a pride. And even the faces, if you see them often enough, you can start to recognise the faces. And as I say, knowing that the Nkuhumas and Tsalalas have been seen together, I wouldn't know for sure if we've got a mixture here, whether these are all the Tsalalas. I think we've got 5 here. I think I saw another one just at the back. There's certainly a young female, which won't be part of the Nkuhumas. And the female who just turned around and looked at us looked like she had a little bit more white in front of her eyes than I've seen on the Nkuhuma females. And just as we started the drive with the baboons grooming, very important for all animals, but certainly those that live as a pride or a herd or just a family. It strengthens those bonds, keeping the family together. This one's also quite a youngster, lying flat. Probably about 1.5 years old by the looks of it. Thanks everybody. Rosie, Mark, Penny, and there was somebody else in there as well. Who was that? Annette. I think there was Annette in there as well. But thanks everybody. Apparently it was ripped off. BB's tail we're talking about now, ripped off by a hyena, and in 2008, December 2008 I think it was. That must have been extremely, extremely painful. Now, tails, even in lions, are important way of communicating with each other, and they'll also use it as balance. Not as much as maybe the cheetah, but they will still use it. And also when they climb trees, we have seen these females actually climbing trees, and lions do climb trees. They're very capable of it, but maybe not as agile as the leopards. And certainly not able to get into the very thin branches like the leopards can, even the big male leopards. Just the sheer size difference will dictate that. When you're looking at, for a female, maybe about 160, 180 kilos. Males, you may be looking about 200, 220, 240, some big males, even up to 280, 300 kilos. Oh, we've got to change the battery. Don't go away. Okay, well that youngster just got up and walked away. And actually, just looking by the size of it now, it probably is about 2 years. Just a little bit older. It actually looked a little bit smaller on the ground there. Maybe about 2 years. Still not fully grown, but not far off. Just waiting to see if this female's going to go and join them. So they're starting to move into the bushes. Good morning, Adrian and Virginia. Virginia wanting to know, will the tail loss affect BB? As I say, it will affect her. It would have affected her when she first lost it, I'm sure. Actually having it and being able to communicate with it and having it for balance. But I think they probably will adapt pretty well, just like normal cats if they've lost their tails. As I say, it's not. Excuse me. It's not as vital as probably it is to a leopard and a cheetah. But I think she's probably learned to cope with it without it pretty well. And the ears are also used in communication. You can see the blacks on the back of the ears, and that will actually help to highlight how the ears are held. The vocal communication as well, and lions being one of the more vocal cats here in Africa. So it's not just the tail, and also body language will play a very important role. Adrian, we're sitting probably about, what would you say, about 8-10 meters away from her?
Yes.
Like that?
4 meters.
No,
that's
I wouldn't
maybe-
say 4 meters. Maybe about 7 or 8 meters away from her.
One, two, three, four, five.
Having a bath before she goes to bed. Let's see if we can get another view of them. Maybe we'll see them all together. So I think they are starting to, now that they've warmed up, finding some shade to go and sleep under. See how effective this is going to be. If we can sneak around the back of this termite mound here. Okay. If you're pulling out, I'm just going to wait here because too many vehicles moving around the lions is not a good thing. We're just saying how close we were to the lions. As I say, usually try and get a little bit further away so that we don't put too much pressure on, but they were both very relaxed where they were. Unfortunately, sometimes you're working in the confines of trees and termite mounds. But certain rules are laid down, so only 3 vehicles can come and view these animals at any one time. Doesn't put too much pressure on them. And as I say, I'll stick to the fact that when an animal is stationary like this, it's never good to move more than 1 vehicle around at a time. And you can see it does actually help to keep them relaxed, and they get to know the vehicles, they get to understand that the vehicles are just these funny things that come around, maybe watch them for a little while and then leave again. And we don't interrupt their lives at all, or we try to limit the interruptions. I think occasionally it does happen that things are interrupted, whether it's sleep or whether it's a sound. I mean, obviously we can't do what we do and not affect them to a certain degree, but we try and keep that to a minimum. So there's these rules that we as guides obey for the benefit of the animals. I can see I'm sure there's 6 here. I think there's another one moving at the back. It could be my imagination, but there's definitely 5 here. We've got the 3. We've got BB on the right, with the tail missing. Got the two next to her. There's a third one just, you won't be able to see it, just in the left of where the screen is. Oh, there we go, you can maybe just about work it out there. And then you've got the one just behind the bush, you can just about see, she's lifted up her head. So that's definitely 5, but I thought I saw some more movement over by the tree further back. It could be lying. Excuse me. Sharp, Virginia. Very sharp. I wish I'd thought of it. Wondering if I was asking about the detail or the detail of BB earlier on. I like your humour. Now, just as I was saying earlier about cats and sleeping, and especially lions are very conservative with their energy, and they can spend sometimes 20 hours a day sleeping, especially if they've had a big meal. You won't see them moving, and there's no need to. These really are powerful, powerful creatures. I mean, their muscles are honed for doing what lions do best, and that is hunting. So if they've got a full belly, there's no need to hunt. They don't need to waste their energy. They can digest that meal. They may move to go and drink water, but otherwise, if they're not disturbed, they will stay put. But even now, their bellies are not that full, and they're not breathing very rapidly. Looks like they may have had something small, but I think actually they did have the buffalo a couple of days ago, didn't they? So they're still digesting that buffalo, so I don't think they're going to be looking for the next meal just yet. But they have moved quite a distance. They were at Buffelshoek Dam, they're now on Albury's Road, so they've moved west already. Maybe about a K and a half, 2 Ks from Buffelshoek Dam, I think. So I don't think they're going to actively go and find food as yet, but they're moving away from the carcass. They're actually leaving their scent behind. So in the next couple of days they might decide to start hunting again. But if something walked by here, if it was an antelope, a small antelope, if one or two of them have digested what they've already eaten, they may have that inkling to may and try and hunt it if the circumstances are right. But otherwise they may just ignore it. As I said earlier, if there's a herd of buffalo or a herd of elephant or something that walks through here, then they probably will scatter. And that's the thing in the bush, you don't know what's going to happen. Could be one of them picks up the sound of something and they all just become alert. But if anybody has tuned in, you are watching Wild Earth and the Salala Pride, who for me is actually the first time to meet them, and they are beautiful lionesses. You can see the spots on the body there. And those spots will decrease as they get older, but they'll still have 1 or 2 even when they're 6, 7, 8 years old. If you find a lion that doesn't have any of the spots on the legs, then you'd know That is a very, very old cat. And as the sun climbs higher, they may just move deeper into the bush, searching for shade. There's a nice little breeze going here, so they may stay here. So we'll probably make a turn later on this afternoon. So unless something does come to move them, they probably will stick around here for the next few hours or so. But it's never a guarantee. Got somebody just with the head up there. That's the one that you couldn't see too well. And I have seen if they get irritated enough by flies, and there's a lot of them around here, they will try and bury themselves underneath a bush. Unfortunately, it has come to the end of drive. As I say, I don't think we're going to get much more movement from them for the time being. So I think we are going to leave them to it, let them have some peace for the day. And hopefully we'll see if we can catch up with them a little bit later on this afternoon. And as I say, we're trying to put your minds at rest, trying to find out what happened to Karoo and the cubs, and hopefully we can try and find out this afternoon. But I'm fairly convinced there was 2 sets of cub tracks there. But as I say, we'll see if we can try and find them this afternoon for you. But certainly having a wonderful sighting of the hippos, and as I say, we will let the authorities know about the elephant. But as I say, it is one of those things that is all part of the bush, and you sometimes have to step back and just take in the whole of the picture, as hard as it may be. But if we do see him again, we'll certainly give you an update of what happens with that elephant. And as I say, I'm hoping that it is just a knee that may have dislodged, or may have just caused some swelling around it or something like that. So I'm hoping it's not going to be anything too serious and it's going to be okay. But as I say, we will try and keep a track of it. But certainly a lot of interesting things this morning. I hope you've enjoyed it. It's been wonderful to be back, and I'll have to tell you my stories this afternoon, quite possibly as well. But thank you very much for joining us here on Wild Earth. Thanks Daniel for your camera work this morning, Craig back in file control, and thanks to you for all the questions. It's really been great to hear from you this morning. But take care, we'll see you again soon here on Wild Earth. Bye everybody.